The biggest problem I see with players below gold is not utilizing V-trigger. If you don't use the V system to your advantage well, you're going to have a very hard time climbing at any rank because it's such a core part of Street Fighter V. Luckily, there is an easy way to effectively use your V-trigger that works on basically every character. Sweep or slide into V-trigger activation. You're probably thinking that this is so basic, and it is, but that doesn't mean it's not useful, even at the highest level. If you watch MDZ Jimmy, a strong Grandmaster Ryu main and awesome content creator, you see him do sweep into V-trigger activation all the time on Ryu, and that's because it's a great option that almost always converts into damage. It's not like Jimmy is doing anything fancy here, he just looks for a nice spot to do sweep when he has V-trigger activation available, and just sweeps and cancels the sweep into the V-trigger activation. Literally anyone can do this, and yet when you do sweep into V-trigger activation, it probably feels lackluster and ultimately disappointing. The difference between you and Jimmy is that Jimmy knows exactly how to utilize the different situations that sweep into V-trigger activation creates to his advantage and eventually create openings in his opponent. You're probably thinking, well of course he does, Johnny. He's a Grandmaster with thousands of hours in Street Fighter V. What's your point here? My point is that if a Grandmaster is doing this basic option over the other ways to activate V-trigger, then you should too. And you should fully expect to get similar results as Jimmy, even if he is a Grandmaster. All it takes is a bit of research and practice. If you learn this V-trigger activation setup well, you will have a strong tool to help you establish your game plan for the rest of Street Fighter V. To give you guys some reference, I'll show you what Ryu and Akuma sweep into V-trigger activation can lead to. Most characters have a similar set of options as these two do, so you don't have to start your lab work from scratch. All you have to know is that in general, sweep into V-trigger activation creates 3 types of situations: sweep blocked, sweep hit, and sweep crush countered. Since we talked about Jimmy, let's start with Ryu. Sweep on block into V-trigger is plus 12, so he can't get a dash since the UV minus 4, but he can do basically anything else he wants. Some nice things he can do are walk up throw, walk up shimmy, walk up standing or crouching medium punch for more plus frames. Basically walk up anything because you're a plus 12 whole frames. If you're going to complain that you can't do anything to take advantage of being plus 12, or you'd rather do something else other than sweep into V-trigger and not be plus 12, then there's not a lot I can do for you. Sweep on regular hit into V-trigger knocks your opponent down and gives you enough Oki to be able to dash twice. On quick rise, after 2 dashes, you are plus 3. On back roll, you are plus 8. In both situations, you are left point blank. It's basically the same as the sweep on block situation, but you get some free damage from the sweep hitting, and you are point blank. Having this knockdown should be the best possible situation for you to apply some pressure because you can go for any meaty and you're in V-trigger, giving you a strong boost. Crush counter sweep into V-trigger is where things get interesting. The 2 most basic options that everyone has in this situation are either to walk back and to do a jump attack at a distance where you can't tell if the attack will hit in the front or if it will cross up, or to do a dash a million times to try to push your opponent into the corner. As for character specifics, if you're using V-trigger 1 as Ryu, you have 2 setups for a meaty fully charged fireball, which will guard break. The first setup is the one you just saw, where you do whiff crouching medium punch into a charged regular fireball. After the fireball guard breaks your opponent, you can walk up to get a full solar plexus combo. If they try to jump over the fireball hits them before they can jump out of the way. They can try to press a button, but if you time everything right, then the fireball will counter hit them. However, if your opponent has an invincible reversal, this can be a problem. That's where the second setup comes in. The second setup is backdash, then a tiny delay, and then a fully charged EX fireball. This option covers literally anything your opponent might try to do, at the cost of 1 bar. It has all the same benefits as the first setup, even the full solar plexus combo if your opponent blocks the fireball. But now, if your opponent tries to do EX DP through the fireball, then the DP will whiff, and you can hit them for more damage than the guard break combo would have done. As you can see, both of these setups lead to either guaranteed damage or situations where you are very advantageous and can apply a lot of pressure. The only exceptions are characters with special escape options, like Akuma's teleport or Fang's EX command dash. Not all characters can take advantage of the crush counter sweep situation like V-trigger 1 Ryu can, but there's a lot of potential for shenanigans for any character. Speaking of shenanigans, let's now talk about Akuma and his reward for landing sweep into V-trigger. On block, Akuma's plus 14, so after a dash, he's left at minus 2, which really isn't too bad if you really just want to get in, since dash can be hard to react to. In fact, if you have CA available, being minus 2 after a dash is actually a very good thing, because you can do dash demon to beat any opponent not holding up before the demon flash. Sweep on regular hit into V-trigger is very similar to Ryu's. After 2 dashes, Akuma is left at plus 5 on quick rise and plus 10 on back roll, and in both situations is point blank to the opponent and now has all the options available to him while in V-trigger. On crush counter sweep, you get one of the oldest 50-50 Akuma setups in the game. It starts with light kick demon flip until light punch air fireballs. After landing from the air fireballs, you can either do neutral jump or forward jump. On neutral jump, the air fireballs will hit in the front. On forward jump, the air fireballs will hit cross up. The great thing about this setup is that you can't really tell the difference between neutral jump and forward jump until far into either jump animation. By the time your opponent has realized which side you jumped on, the fireballs probably already hit them, so if they're holding the wrong direction, they eat a whole lot of damage. Another great thing about this setup is that if they do happen to guess correctly and block the fireballs, you are still plus, so you can continue to pressure your opponent with more mix-ups. However, this setup will lose to EXDP if you jump at all, since it will blow right through the fireballs. If you think your opponent will do an invincible reversal, you can block to punish it. The fireballs will act as a meaty, which allows you to cover if they block or press a button as well. Which means if you're blocking on their wake up, you cover invincible reversal, blocking on wake up, and wake up buttons, which pretty much is all the options your opponent could have. If you land a tight crush counter sweep, the demon flip air fireballs will whiff. However, you can try an alternative setup where instead of the demon flip, you do a neutral jump into very late air fireballs. This setup does not cross up your opponent as reliably as the demon flip setup, but you can still pressure them with the air fireballs as mentioned before when trying to cover EXDP. Like reuse setups, these setups do not work on characters with special escape options like Akuma and Fang. Anyways, that's all I got. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed and follow my other socials to see whenever I post new content. See you next video.